Hello. You like my wild hair? After a wild New Year's Eve. Just kidding. I was with my daughter because she's had a stomach bug, and I was sleeping in a sleeping bag in her room. So my hair is more stylish than usual this morning. Welcome to 2023. In the past, sometimes like to my mailing list, my newsletter, I would send out. I'd usually have like a New Year type of email or share some quotes. But I don't really feel like that's what I want to talk about today as much as, we make a ton of people make New Year's resolutions. This is like, the time of year for reflection and change. And if you're familiar with what we talk about, you realize that reflection and change has to be basically a daily process, really. I'm a huge advocate of W. Clement Stone and his success indicator. When he says, if you don't inspect your behavior, it's very unlikely to change, And so if you only inspect your behavior, for instance, earnestly inspect your behavior at the end of the year, beginning of the new year, or like quarterly or something like that, it's just not enough for a lot of us to affect the change inwardly and outwardly that we want to see in our lives. So this work, so much of it is about, people like to say becoming more self-aware. That's a good way of terming it. More aware of our behavior, in our reactions to things, and our thinking, what we are suggesting to ourselves throughout the day, what we're responding to, right? And so New Year's Day is not any more special than any other day. Every day is New Year's Day, because it's moment to moment. Each moment is new. And somewhat related to this, so much. I remember I heard a quote from Ben Settle, who's like a famous copywriter, modern copywriter. I remember listening to some audio thing he was doing, and he was basically saying like, and remember, this guy's a master copywriter. He really knows how to draw people in terms of his writing. But he was saying, there's, people want to hear, a lot of people want to obviously hear information, hear advice that helps them. He goes, but a lot of people, a lot of the time, just want to be inspired. And if you just inspire somebody, that's enough. I mean, there's a huge need for just hearing inspiration a lot of the time. That quote, for whatever reason, always stuck with me, because I think it's true. We make fun of just inspiring stuff, if it's just inspirational and nothing else a lot of the time. I know I do that a lot, right? But at the same time, inspiration is very important, right? However, this is the kicker, what I want to get at with it. Why I make criticisms of inspiring stuff like on YouTube in regards to this manifesting stuff, law of assumption stuff, law of attraction stuff, is that if you're only fed inspiration and not really fed much information about, how to do what you want to do, how to actually manifest what you want to manifest, both inwardly and outwardly, how to actually work through and work with your feelings, work through and work with the thoughts racing through your head, the suggestions that you are accepting even though you don't want to accept them, all these negative inputs. How are you able to work through and work with that stuff? And the inspirational advice we so often see on YouTube and elsewhere in the social media community of this LOA stuff, it doesn't tell you how to do that at all. At all. Or it tells you how to do it very minimally. It's like 95% plus of the content when it comes to Neville or the law of attraction or whatever on YouTube, when it comes to these manifesting ideas, 95% of the content is just trying to inspire you with no added value. Unless it's, of course, like the original recordings of Neville or Joseph Murphy or whoever. Then you have the original content. Neville, Joseph Murphy, the people we always talk about, they might be trying to inspire you some without question. But they're also telling you how to fucking do this stuff. How to fucking do this stuff. And that is what this YouTube channel is primarily about. I have very little interest in inspiring you. Just to be honest. I want you to feel better. And if I have to inspire you a little bit to do that, great. But I know inspiration is usually not enough. The reason I'm so critical of these YouTube teachers is because they just inspire you, but it's like they don't give you any other good advice, really, most of the time at least. And as I've talked about this so much, and the reason I've talked about it so much is because it's important and people don't see that. People don't see that. I made a video, I'll put a link above, I think just called like Regurgitated Neville. I believe I did it in May of last year. So not even that long ago, like 6-7 months ago, something like that. And I was talking about this, how very few of the YouTube channels about this information actually have original advice and perspectives on this stuff, And I mentioned Joseph Rodriguez, who's still like, Joseph Rodriguez is a great example of someone who clearly has, I think what his show's called Insights and Perspectives, I think. Joseph Rodriguez's channel is like, it's him. It's like he's quoting all these great teachers. He was my primary interest for starting the podcast. But because he's quoting all these great LOA teachers, but then the advice he's giving is based upon his actual experiences. And someone like Joseph Rodriguez is extremely unusual to find on YouTube. And in my opinion, there should be, 20 to 100 times more people like Joseph Rodriguez, And there's not. I don't know all the people on YouTube obviously talking about this stuff, but I know enough of them to tell you that there really aren't any other Joseph Rodriguez type people out there. And there's nobody like Maggie out there, Neville Goddess, or as she now likes to be called, the Neville Goddess. When I made that regurgitated Neville video, I knew Maggie's videos, but I didn't know her. And since then I've, become friends with her. So I've talked to her a lot, texted with her a lot, emailed with her a lot. And I'm pretty sure she would say the same thing I'm telling you now. I think that Maggie gets so, I guess you could almost say disgusted with the scene, the lack of insight and perspectives, the lack of people like Joseph Rodriguez and all of the, just kind of crap out there about Neville and about LOA, that she doesn't even want to make any more videos or make very few videos. And, when I started talking to Maggie and getting involved with Reddit to try to help out the Reddit Neville page, I saw just how regurgitated this stuff really was. I knew it was highly regurgitated and that there was very little new, insightful advice being given. But after seeing Reddit for a couple months and, moderating it briefly, it, it really made me believe that and see that even more. It's a really fucked up scene. That's why I made that podcast episode. I'll link to it, about spiritual bypassing a couple weeks ago, or whenever that was. Spiritual bypassing, when it comes to LOA, law of assumption, it's just rampant. And I'm telling you this stuff not just to rant, because I'm very capable of ranting to myself or to someone like Maggie and not having it on my channel. I'm telling you this stuff because it's important to realize. What I'm saying is that most of these YouTube channels that I know a lot of you are watching, maybe watching daily, are absolutely nothing like what I'm talking about on this channel. And it's not that I'm this brilliant person or whatever. It's just that I'm quoting source material and giving my own take based on my own experiences with this stuff. And most of these YouTube channels are not doing that. They might share their own experiences, but what they're sharing sounds just like Neville's advice, except watered the fuck down. Or sounds just like Abraham Hicks' advice, but watered the fuck down. It's not unique. It doesn't seem fresh. There's not like a different perspective. And if you have any interest in ever making YouTube videos and you want to share your perspective, I really encourage you to do that when it comes to this stuff. Because there are virtually no new perspectives when it comes to this information these days. And people really get fucked up because of that. They hear all this watered down Neville advice, watered down, overly simplistic advice that can inspire you. It absolutely can inspire you. But that's all it's going to do. It's also going to delude you because you're going to think, all these people are having success doing this. Here I am inspired. It's not working. And it's like the emperor has no clothes. It's like in reality, this stuff that these YouTubers are talking about is not working for most people who do it. And you can call me negative all you want. Unfortunately, I know what I'm talking about. A simplistic application of this kind of advice, of Neville's advice, of LOA advice, it can work for you somewhat some of the time. But we want to do deep internal change. You don't want to be listening to all these YouTube folks. If you want to get inspired occasionally by hearing some of the stories they have to share and some of their simplified Neville advice, that's cool. That's great. But we can get deeper. And we can create lasting change in our life. And as I always say, often that lasting change is going to be more of like an internal shift than an external shift necessarily. I mean, the external stuff will change. That's inevitable. But it starts from within, And I think another reason I'm talking about this today is just because I've had a couple clients recently, with SP situations. And, they've worked with SP coaches, and they've told me what these SP coaches advise them to do, what they coach them to do. And it's like some of the fucking worst advice I've ever heard. Might work for some people, but it's not going to work for many. We have to understand why this stuff works a lot of the time in order to apply it better. We have to really look at ourselves and inspect ourselves and realize that I'm trying to change, or I am, working with myself to change today. Inwardly, how do I feel today? It's a new day today. It's a new year today, but it's also a new day today. And tomorrow is a new day. The next day is a new day. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. We need to make that resolution to ourselves, or a similar resolution. We don't have to use those words. We need to make a resolution like that every day. That's not watered down advice. That's not overly simplistic, people just trying to sell you something. That's real advice. So I hope you recognize what I'm saying when I say this, and see that, as I've stated before and will state again, YouTube often is not the best place to turn to get answers for this stuff. It's a great place to be entertained with different personalities, and it can be a good place to be inspired. But let's get beyond inspiration, and let's do it. You do you. Don't listen to people. You do you. Don't listen to me. You do you. Because that's where, the magic really happens. All right. Have a good one.